מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. Hine matovu manayim, how wonderful it is for all of us to dwell together here at Beth Shalom in our sanctuary, this peaceful place where we can leave our troubles at the door. I'm so happy to see you all, and I'm so happy that we get to daven, to pray together here in person, live. I know, not behind a computer screen. So thank you all for being here and for making this service so special. We're going to go ahead and begin in our Siddur on page 12. And we'll go ahead and sing that first paragraph of Yedid Nefesh together, and then we'll break out into a nigun, a melody without words, and we'll, if you know the melody, please join. If not, you'll catch on and you'll join when you're comfortable. Yedid Nefesh Av HaRachaman Meshoch Avdecha Eretzonecha Yarutz Avdecha Kemo Hayal Yishachaveh Emur Hadarecha Terav Lo Yedidutecha Mino Fetzuv Vechotam. Join me on my lies. La 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 ya da 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 yana nai 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 nai. Well, gosh, it's so nice to hear voices. It's great being on Zoom because it serves a purpose, and sometimes we need Zoom. But I have to say, sometimes it's a little lonely. You hear crickets when you're the only one singing. So, wow, thank you so much for singing out. Keep it up. The sun on the treetops no longer is seen. Come, gather to welcome the Sabbath, our Queen. Behold her descending, the holy, the blessed, and with her the angels of peace and of rest. Draw near, O Queen, and here abide. Draw near, O Sabbath bride. Peace be unto you, angels of peace. Let's begin our service officially on page 22 with Lechu Neranenam. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Nadria, nadria, litzur yeshenu, lekadma fana betoda. Nadria, nadria, litzur yeshenu, bismirot nadria lo. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Lechu neranena, lechu neranena, lechu neranena, l'Adonai. Let's continue quietly in the language of our choice, English or Hebrew, 22 or 23. Ki el kadonai. Arba'im shana kut bedor v'amar ham to'elim avhem vehem lo ידעו דרכי, אשר נשבעתי באפי, אם יבוא אל מנוחתי. Let's turn now to our next psalm on page 25. I'll go ahead and lead us responsively in the English. Please respond if you're able. Sing unto Adonai a new song. Sing unto Adonai all the earth.
Sing unto the Lord, praise God's name. Make known God's salvation day by day.
Declare God's glory among the nations. Proclaim God's wonders among all the peoples.
For great is the Lord, greatly to be praised. Who alone is secretly his God.
The gods of the heathens are worthless, but Adonai made the heavens.
Splendor and majesty are before God. Strength and beauty are in God's sanctuary.
Ascribe to Adonai, O families of nations. Ascribe to Adonai glory and might.
Render to God the honor due God's name. Come into God's courts with gift offering.
Worship Adonai in the beauty of holiness. Stand in awe of Adonai, all the world.
Declare among the nations, the Lord reigns. The world is set forever. God's justice prevails.
Let the heavens rejoice and the earth be glad. Let the sea and all within it roar praise.
Let the field and all within it exalt. Let the trees of the forest break into song.
For God comes to judge the world in righteousness, to judge the nations by divine truth. We are 4 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew on 24. Please join me. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, betagel haaretz. Yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, hashamayim, yismechu hashamayim, betagel haaretz. Yihiram hayam, yihiram hayam, yihiram hayam, umelo. Yihiram hayam, yihiram hayam, yihiram hayam, umelo. Well, let's turn forward now to page 29, and I'll lead us once again in the English. Please respond. Sing a new song to Adonai, who has done marvelous things, whose holy power has brought deliverance.
The Lord has made known his saving power, and has revealed his triumph before the nations.
God lovingly remembers this faithfulness to Israel. The very ends of the earth have witnessed God's deliverance.
Acclaim, O Lord, all the earth. Break forth into jubilant singing.
Praise Adonai with the harp and the voice of song.
With trumpets and the sound of the shofar shall praise before our sovereign Lord.
Let the sea roar and all within it. Let the world and its inhabitants give praise.
Let the rivers clap their hands in gladness. Let the mountains join in song.
For Adonai is coming to judge the world, to rule the nations in righteousness and equity. Please join me. We're about 6 lines from the bottom of the Hebrew on 28 for Zamru Adonai. And as I've mentioned recently, this melody comes from South America. It's really incredible that we can be singing a melody here in Texas in the United States, the same melody that they're singing in Buenos Aires, Argentina on a Friday night as well. So I hope that you'll take a moment to consider how beautiful that feeling of unity is when we consider that this is happening around the world. Zamru Adonai bechinor, bechinor v'kol zimra, b'chatzotzrot v'kol shofar, ha'adiu lifnei HaMelech Adonai, yiram hayamum lo, tevel v'yoshveva, nehadvatim cha'ucha, Yishpat tevel b'tzedek v'yamim b'meishadrim. Let's turn to the next page, 30 or 31, and let's daven in the language of our choice, and we'll come together shortly for Romemu at the bottom of the page. Adonai malach yizgamim. 2 lines from the bottom on page 30. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu lehad kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu lehad kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu lehad kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishachavu lehad kodsho. Well, now that we've warmed up with a few psalms, we've reached the core of our Kabbalat Shabbat service. We welcome the Shabbat bride. Some people call her the Shabbat queen. This is the point where we officially say, she's arrived. Let's start the first 2 verses together on 38, and then we'll skip to the last 2 verses on page 40. And when we arrive at that final verse, I'll invite us to rise, if we're able, and face the exit to symbolically welcome the Shabbat bride. And the melody I'm going to be leading us in tonight is a melody that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It comes from the Kol Neshama synagogue in Israel. So please join me. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Try it with me. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lai 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 shamor vezachor bedibur echad. Ishmihanu el hamiyuchad Adonai echad Ushmo echad L'shemu tiferet ve'litkila. Try it with me. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcham ki hi mekor ha'beracha berosh mikedem nesucham sof maaseh b'makshavat tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Page 40. Yaminu smol tifrotzi ve'et Adonai tarmitzi. Ayadish ben parzi ve'nismecha ve'nagila. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala yalalai 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 p'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi ve'shalom ateret bala u'mesimcha u'vetzola toch emunim am segula. Boi chala lecha Hadodi likrat kalai alalai 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 Pnei Shabbat Lekavelalai lai lai Lehadodi likrat kalai alalai 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 Pnei Shabbat Nekavela. Well, now that we've welcomed the Shabbat bride, we sing a psalm to her. We turn to page 43, and I'll lead us responsively in English once again. It is good to thank you, Adonai, to bring praises to your exalted name. To the sound of the 10-string lyre with voice and the music of the harp. How great are your deeds, Adonai! How profound are your designs! Though the wicked may thrive like grass and doers of evil seem to flourish, those who oppose you will perish. The workers of iniquity will be routed. I see the defeat of my foes. I hear the doom of my enemies. The righteous will flourish like the palm tree. They will thrive like the cedar of Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they will flourish in the courts of our God. Even in old age, they will bear fruit, retain their vigor and their strength. Proclaiming that Adonai is just, my rock in whom there is no unrighteousness. Please join me 4 lines from the bottom of the Hebrew on 42. Tzadik atamar yifrach ke'erez bavanon yizke shetulim beveit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu Yafrichu Od Yenuvun Beseva Deshenim Verananim Iyu Lehagir Ki Yashar Adonai Tzuri Velo Avlatabo. Sounds like we have some musicians in the house. I heard some harmonies back there. That was gorgeous. Oh my gosh. You know, Lewandowski would have been so happy to hear that. Lewandowski is the composer of this melody. Really incredible Jewish musician. Maybe one Shabbat will dedicate to learning about Lewandowski if you don't already know about Lewandowski. But beautiful choral sound, and he was really into that. Thank you. Let's turn now to page 44, and let's close out Kabbalat Shabbat in the language of our choice. We'll come together in just a moment. Adonai Malach. עדותיך נאמנו מאוד בביטחון בקודש, אדוני לאורך ימים. Well, we've completed our Kabbalat Shabbat, our warm-up to more serious prayer, although it's hardly a warm-up. It's such a beautiful, fun part of our Friday evening liturgy. But it is seen as sort of a warm-up to our more serious davening, our Baruch Hu, Shema and her blessings. And we can find Baruch Hu on page 50. I'll invite us to rise, if you're able, for this call to worship. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. You may be seated. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, whose word brings on the dusk of evening. May you rule over us as you rule over nature. Praised are you, Adonai, who brings the evening dusk. We are 4 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew. Umavir yom umevir laila, umavdir ben yom umevir laila, Adonai tzavot shemo, El chai v'kayam, tamid himloch, aleinu le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai, hamari v'ravim. Let's daven in the language of our choice on page 52 or 53. Ahavat olam et Yisrael. ואהבתך אל תסיט ממנו לעולמים, ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. I invite you to rise if it's your custom for Shema, the watchword of our people, page 54. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. You may be seated. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ובשוכבך וקומך, וקשרתם להיות על ידיך, והיית עטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. We continue quietly in the Hebrew or the English through 58 or 59. והיה עם שמות ישמעאל. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Lead us once again on page 61 in the English. True and certain it is that there is one God incomparable, and that we, the household of Israel, are God's people.
It is God who redeemed us from the might of tyrants, delivering us from slavery unto freedom.
Great are the things which God has done, with wonders which are without number.
Delivering our ancestors from Egyptian bondage, inspiring hope and faith in every generation.
May God continue to protect our people and guard all humankind from disaster.
When the children of Israel beheld God's might, they gave thanks and praise His divine name.
They accepted God's sovereignty willingly and sang in joyous thanksgiving.
Moses and the children of Israel proclaimed in great exultation.
Who is like you, Adonai, among the mighty? Who is like you, glorious in holiness, revered in praises, doing wonders? This is my God, they exclaimed and said, Adonai shall reign forever and ever. Praised are you, Adonai, Redeemer of Israel. And let's sing some Debbie Friedman tonight. There'll be more of that later this month when I officiate. This month we're remembering Debbie Friedman's yard site, so I always like to infuse a few extra melodies from her. Please join me, middle of page 60. אותו ספלה מלאכותך ואהובנך בוקע ים לפני משה זה אלינו ואמרו זה אלינו ואמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. Praise to you, O God of peace, whose love is always with us, who shelters your people Israel and protects Jerusalem in love. We daven quietly on page 62 or 63, Hashki Venu, this text which recognizes that the nighttime can be a little scary. It's a time of vulnerability and uncertainty, and in this text we ask God to watch over us a little closer. Hashki Venu, Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom hamitin. Please join me 2 lines from the bottom in the Hebrew. Ufros aleinu sukat sukat shelomecha ufros aleinu sukat sukat shelomecha baruch atah Adonai apores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. Well, let's kick it up a notch on page 64 with Veshamru. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat. La'asot et HaShabbat le'dorotam berrit olam. Veshamru b'nei Yisrael et HaShabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם אותי לעולם ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם וביום השביעי שבת וינפש שבת וינפש שבת וינפש ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. Let's turn to page 66 for Chatzi Kaddish, which divides Shema and her blessings from our silent Amidah, our evening meditation. יתקדש ויתקדש שמי רבה ועמד יברכתי וימליך מלכותי בחייך וביומך ובחייך בית ישראל בגלה בגלה ובזמן קריב עם הרוח Shmei Rabba Mevorach Le'alam Olam Ve'amayam Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yitpa'at v'yitshama v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei tekudesha brichu le'ila min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'meru amen. Our silent evening meditation, or Amidah, begins on page 68 and extends through page 77. I invite us to rise, if we're able, to either look at the English or the Hebrew in the Siddur, or to simply close your book and have a meaningful conversation with God. We'll join together for prayer for peace in just a few moments. Use shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Use shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen, amen. With that, we turn now to page 86 for Kaddish Shalem. Actually, hold that thought. Before we get to Kaddish Shalem, let's insert a prayer for healing. For all those in need of healing, let's turn to our inside back cover. We can hold our finger on page 86 as well. And we'll start that first paragraph of Debbie Friedman's Misha Berach melody together, and then we'll pause. I'll first read the names on our synagogue Misha Berach list, recognizing that there are other names that may need to be added. And when I'm done with that list, I'll turn to you all to add to any other names that should be on this list, and then we'll conclude the melody together. Please join me. Inside back cover. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekol habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. This week we are praying for Paris Bass, Jordan Zadwick, Elia Alina Bat Tanya, Lori Sherwin, Beverly Elster, Beth Ann Shore, Morgan Kuhol, Kathy Charity, Ellen Morton, Cynthia Kern, Neil Schneider, Marty Wichter, Levi Rollins, Marsha Wilson, Jan Weiss, Howard Weiss, Myrna Ryder. I'll start on this side of the room. We'll make our way around.
Swallow, Scott Benson, Cindy Curry. Arthur Nagel.
Please join me on the inside back cover as we sing the final verse together. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us sing, Amen. May all of these people be remembered for healing, and let us say, Amen. Well, now we'll turn to page 86 and close out this section with Kaddish Shalem. יתקרא ויתקרא שמי רבה ביאמה תברכותי וימליך מלכותי בחיי חונו ומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה בזמן קריב וימרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מברך לעלם עולם ימיה יתברך וישבח ויתפאר ויתרום וינשא ויתהדר ויתפתלו שמי דכון ושמריחו לעילם יקום בחטא ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן. תתקבל צדקון ותכון לכל ישראל קודם ohni וישמעיה ויאמרו אמן. יהי שלום עולם מן שמיה וחיים עלינו כל ישראל ויאמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו אמן. Shabbat. Oh, hey, you know what? Take your time. I'm a big fan of just kind of hanging out where you need to hang out. Take your time. I'll sort of keep things moving. I think as a cantor, I kind of sort of speed things up, slow things down. But, you know, it's always good when people make comments like these because it's educational for me. And maybe one time we'll focus on Kaddish Shalem and talk about why that language is so hard. And it's not actually in Hebrew. I know most people think it's in Hebrew. It's actually in Aramaic, and it's...
This time it's like, okay, I got it.
Oh, well, I'll try to slow down next time.
All I got to do is the floor. I used to sit next to Leah. My voice was still down good. I was embarrassed of mine, so I moved it 3 seats down. They were still here, so I moved over here.
Oh, well, of course. Well, so Tonight, rather than to deliver a formal sermon, I actually wanted to kind of just get a little closer to you all. If you all are comfortable with it, if we can move into these two sections, like just this little area. I'm going to pull up a chair, and I'm going to hand something out, and I want to just kind of dive into the theme of text and melody, and focus on what I think may be one of our favorite texts here on Friday nights, based on the enthusiasm Vishamru. So, if you'd like to just take a copy, and I'll put some on this here. Yes.
You need my wallet?
Oh, thank you so much. No, I'm good. Thank God. Hopefully not for a few more years. Let me just move it, Sharon. I want to get closer to y'all. So if you are able, if you want to just fill in any of the seats, you don't have to. Well, you don't have to. So we don't budge. And I'll move the mic so that hopefully they can hear. No, so hopefully the live streamers can hear a little bit, and yes. All right. Hopefully this will.
This congregation likes to sing.
You know what? I love it, and it makes me so happy. And I thought, there's a time and place for a more formal devar and a sermon, but sometimes it's just nice to get close to each other and have a conversation. And as you all know, melody is, I think, one of the most powerful tools in my toolbox. It is, for me, something incredibly special. I think it's hard for some people to connect to words, but I think everybody, regardless of language barriers, can somehow connect to a melody, latch onto a melody, hum, even if they can't carry a tune. Who cares? It's your own melody. It comes from your heart. It comes from your neshama, your soul. So music, in that sense, does, I think, what words can't necessarily do alone. Tonight, I'd like to explore, as I mentioned, Vishamru. And what you have is actually a copy of Vishamru. Before we look at it, though, I want to talk about different musical renditions and what this text means, and then talk about your impressions. But before we do that, let's just go around, and please, this is a safe place to chime in. If you are not comfortable chiming in, that's okay too. I will never pressure anyone to say anything. So what are your associations with Vishamru? I know in this congregation we sing a lot of the Vishamru. What do you think of when you think of Vishamru, the melody, the text? Let's just throw out some associations. What do you associate it with? Kids, okay.
Well, but we have to explain, we used to have a lot of little ones,
Yes.
because we all used to be younger. And we would have what we called the Vishamru dancers. And so they would squat down and then jump up.
Oh, I love it.
Okay, well, yeah.
I love it.
If we got down, we'd never get up.
That's right.
So that's what.
So
That's what the
children,
arm
That's what
motion,
the arm
that's us
motion-
jumping up and
Yes,
down.
children,
As much
the
as-
dancers, frogs. These are all such beautiful
Right,
associations.
yes.
What else? Does anyone else think of anything else, maybe?
So my dad did a devar on this.
Oh, beautiful.
Parsha one time.
Okay.
And his take on it was that it's one of the most important passages in Torah, because what God is asking of us is time,
Love it. Love it.
right? You shall keep the Sabbath. God isn't asking belief, God is asking our time.
Love it. Love it. And we'll get to that in just a moment. So, but you associate with your dad and a
Yeah.
teaching that he did. Great. Beautiful. What other associations do you have? Or maybe you don't have any, and that's okay too. Any other associations? So children, the Vishamru dancers or frogs, fathers' teachings, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, in light of that, when all the dancers were lined up here, the whole congregation joined in. If there were 10 people here, if there were 40 people here, everybody joined in.
Love it. Love
And
it.
it's one of those melodies that just brings everybody together.
Wonderful. Okay, so this unity, this unifying melody, that's what you associate with Vishamru. Yes, Bob.
In light of him, who was in light of him. I learned a lot from you said, Barry, because I think I've always taken it too lightly. I didn't really fully grasp, the significance of this incredible thing that I didn't recognize as incredible until you. Thank you.
Like I said, my dad.
Beautiful.
God was asking for us is time.
Love it. Love it.
One of the other things you mentioned early,
Yeah.
we have to be loud so
Yeah.
live stream can hear us. We had a rabbi once who used to tell people, if you don't think you can sing, just close your eyes, because then nobody can tell.
I love it. I feel like I always feel a little sad when people say they can't carry a tune and you won't want to hear me sing. And my response to that is always, sing out, honey. Sing out. We each have a voice, and it doesn't matter if it's not in tune. It's your voice. It's your soul speaking. So beautiful. These are all great associations. I'll share mine. Growing up in LA, I went to a synagogue called Adat Ariel, and they had a thriving junior congregation. And I want to say every other week or so we had a service in a little chapel, not the main sanctuary. And at the end of services, we'd stand outside the chapel next to a table lined with gefilte fish balls and donut holes. And all of us kids thought it was so cool to hold our gefilte fish on little toothpicks. And we would sing Vishamru, and we couldn't wait to have our of course, grape juice, but gefilte fish and donut holes. And it's a really nostalgic memory for me. And the other piece is
Saturday morning.
Saturday mornings, yes. So, and I'll get to that in just a moment. The other piece for me is that the melody that we sing here, which we'll talk about more in a second, was actually written by my childhood rabbi, my senior rabbi, Rabbi Moshe J. Rothblum. And when I left the synagogue and kind of went out into the world, I realized, oh my gosh, we didn't just sing this in LA. This was like, it made its way around the world a couple times, at least. So, okay, great. So these associations are really, really powerful. I love hearing people's associations with prayer, and obviously these associations can make prayer really meaningful. They might make it more painful for some, or more exciting, or more just more useful in a sense when they're approaching prayer. So let's just look at this copy. I was going to have us look at the Siddur, but I made this copy intentionally because there are trope symbols on here, and we'll get to that in a few minutes. But can someone just read for me the translation at the bottom? Someone can just jump in or raise your hand, either way. Anyone? Yes, Cookie.
The Israelites shall thus keep the Sabbath, making it a day of rest for all generations as an eternal covenant. It is a sign between me and the Israelites that during the 6 weekdays God made heaven and earth, but on Saturday he ceased working and withdrew to the spiritual.
Beautiful. So Barry was kind of alluding to this. God is asking us for time, but sort of another way to look at it is that this is a promise between God and the Jewish people. This is a covenant, right? This is basically saying, you work all week long, and I need your time one day of the week. The way I think of this, especially where I'm at in my life, is date night. My husband and I don't get a lot of FaceTime these days, and our kids don't sleep well. We never see each other, and we do whatever we can at all costs to guard that date night, even if it's just an hour on Saturday night, watching an episode of something, or having a meal together that isn't the kids' leftover chicken nuggets or whatnot. And so I think here in Vishamru, God is saying, hey, you can do what you're going to do during the week, but you need to guard that date night, or that one day of the week. I need your time, and you need my time, and we have this beautiful, intimate relationship with each other. There's this beautiful quote, which I'm sure most of us in this room have heard. This, more than Israel has kept Israel, Shabbat has, more than Israel has kept Shabbat, Shabbat has kept Israel. And so like in any relationship, having that face time, that important just us time is sacred. It keeps the relationship going, and the same goes with Israel and God. And I hope that you'll see this text maybe differently if you didn't know that that's what this text is about. But this is this really beautiful sacred promise. Like, I'm going to be here for you, and you're going to be here for me, but we have to make time because it takes work. It takes work, and we have to be here for each other. Great. So what I'd like to do next is sing a little. I'm going to start by singing a melody to Vishamru, which was written by Shlomo Carlebach. I have a complicated relationship with Carlebach as a musician. We could talk about another time, but I happen to love some of his melodies, and I'd like to sing this melody for you, and if you know it, you can chime in. But as I'm singing this, I'd like you to consider a few things. How did this melody sound to you? Did it seem happy? Did it seem sad? Was there an emphasis on specific words? Did the melody go up or down? Does it sound old world or does it sound modern? What is your impression of the melody? And does it fit the text that we're talking about? All right, so if you know this, you can sing along with me. If you don't, not a problem. V'shameru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם, לי, 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 ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. What are your impressions? How did that melody feel for you? Yes, Bob.
Yeah, 17, once you begin, it was far more intense, more highs.
Beautiful. Yes.
Where some in 16 got emphasized, but it didn't seem to be at a really significant point.
Great. Great. Thank you. Sound more religious?
Solemn.
Religious. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
Old world.
Old world. That's, I feel, definitely old world. I made the same observation that it emphasizes 17, which I think is kind of powerful. It's really the covenant. It's the sign between us and God. It's this promise. And a promise is not something we take lightly. It's this really serious thing. And I think the melody went up, right? It was really like, okay, you had to use your kishkas to get up there, right? What else? What else did you notice about the melody? Did it convey the text as you would hope? Did it not? Yeah, I'm seeing some not.
It's a beautiful tune, and it makes you, it really does make you feel spiritual.
Beautiful.
Really.
Beautiful. I love it. I happen to agree with you. And I love that it kind of starts off low and somber, and then it ends that way. And my favorite word of the entire piece, it's funny, it's not really a very important word, but I guess you can see it as important, is the last word, vayinafash, which really literally translates to, was refreshed. And I think, Shabbat vayinafash. To me, it just, I feel refreshed when I sing it that way.
Yinafash, is it the same root as nefesh?
It comes from the same root. Yes.
With soul. So it's a refreshment of your soul.
Beautiful. Yes, it's related to soul. It's a beautiful, beautiful word, and we can. Yes.
And Shabbat is supposed to.
It's about your soul. We get 2 souls on Shabbat. Yes, love it. Thank you so much, Martine. Great. So that's one melody. Let's just go back to the Moshe Rathlo melody that we sing here every Friday night. I'm not going to sing the whole thing. Let's just sing like the first refrain and the first verse together, just so we can refresh, and then refresh. Funny. And then we can talk about it. But think about those same questions. How does it make you feel? Does it depict the text accurately? Do you feel like it doesn't? What's missing? What is there? Okay. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם אותי לעולם אותי לעולם, and so on and so forth. So, what are your impressions of this melody? Is it fitting? Is it
joyful?
More joyful? Okay, great, great. Does it depict the text accurately? Actually, and also after we talk about the text, let's compare it as well. So, does this feel old world? Does this feel more modern?
Martine mentioned before that it was old school, but in this case, I like the old school better than the real lighthearted dish shop. You know, to me, the way you sang it affected me more.
Got it. The Karlbach was more effective. You feel with the text. Okay, great.
Debbie Friedman has a very beautiful melody for this too.
She does.
It's an important holiday, it's uplifting. I think that's what I like. I think that's what a lot of people like about the genre, which is it feels good. And, I think that's
So this melody captures the joy, the festiveness of the Sabbath. I love it. Great.
It's celebrating Shabbat.
Great. I love it. Great. What else?
And maybe this promise should be celebrated,
Great. I love it.
right? We
Great.
should be celebrating that we're keeping the
Love
Sabbath,
it.
not
Love
mourning
it.
it.
So maybe
We
Rabbi
have to,
Rothblum
right? It's
wanted to
something we should
capture
look
that
forward to,
that
not-
joy. That joy. Yeah, I love it.
Not regret, not dread.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Anything else? Any other comments? And for
Jane,
you,
did you have something to say?
Oh, no, I'm not doing
I thought I saw your hands up.
great. So I like to ask these sorts of questions, not to say that one is more correct than the other. They both are correct. They both, maybe Rabbi Rothman was trying to capture that festive essence of Shabbat, not necessarily that seriousness of a promise or a covenant. And maybe Karl Bach was seeking to convey that ethereal, that ominous sound of this important promise, right? And the other thing I'm going to mention about Rothblum's is, so Karl Bach has this melody, there's kind of a climax in the middle, and then it winds down. Rothblum's melody is, there are 3 verses and a refrain that comes back, which is, to me, very modern sounding and there's less going on. But it's also more accessible, I think, to congregations. It's easier to sing along with because it repeats. There's that element of repetition. And face it, that refrain, man, it's like there are few melodies better than that. So, okay, great. 2 melodies right here. I have 2 more things to share with you. The first is I'd like to actually chant this for you in Torah trope, because of course this actually comes from the book of Exodus, and many don't remember this, but this is a Torah text. So I'm going to chant it with a trope, and you can follow along on your sheet and think about those same questions. Okay? I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat v'torotam berit olam beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et ha-shamayim ve'et ha'aretz Uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash. What was that like for you? Was that effective? Was it weird? What did it capture the meaning of the text? Did it not? Sounds like it should sound. Okay, great. Comfort food. Torah.
Sounded like it should sound from the Torah. Right.
Sounds like Torah. It doesn't sound like a song anymore. It sounds like Torah.
Got it. Did it help to convey the text, do you feel? Do you feel that it helped to, throw at you, hey, this is a big promise, this is a really important text, or not? Which was more meaningful to you out of those 3 options? Which spoke to you the most? And there's no right answer. I'm just curious.
I like the first one.
First one.
All right.
Beautiful.
Because I even heard his name for a very long time, and I remember somewhere in the back of my mind that we did other music.
Oh, yeah. A lot of the Friday night. Yeah.
But it just, I loved it.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Anyone else have a preference? Anyone that was more meaningful? First one, what more meaningful?
Old school.
I like the familiarity of the second.
I like the joy of it.
Yeah. Great. 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 Again with the jeans? Okay. So I have one more before we run out of time. I just want to chant it for you now in Nusach. So those who are not familiar, everything that we sing from the Siddur actually comes with a set Nusach or prayer modes. So on Friday nights, Kabbalat Shabbat, we sing it in a major mode if you know music a little bit. It's a major mode with a lowered 7th. And Arba'im Shana Kut Betor you have that slight lighter because of Judaism. We always have this happy, but there's always a little sad in the background because we have a tough history, right? In the mornings, you have this mode for Shachrit, na 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 na, Shachin ad marom v'kadosh shemo, and it repeats all along. So these modes make it so that you can walk into the room any day of the year with your eyes closed and you know, hey, it's Shabbat. And it's not just Shabbat evening, it's actually Shabbat morning, because we're in this minor mode again. You know, it might be the regalim, the festivals, and you'll know from the melody. You might not know exactly which festival, but you'll know it's one of the festivals.
And the High Holidays has a very recognizable.
Exactly. So all those modes that you hear are called nusach. And so I'm going to chant this text in nusach, Saturday morning nusach. And this is the nusach you would hear if I chanted it in the Amidah, as we do in the repetition for Shacharit. We hear this melody on Friday nights, Saturday morning in the Amidah, and then at the end of services before Kiddush. This is one during the Amidah, Saturday morning. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בהני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש. And every cantor would chant this just a little bit differently, as long as it's in that mode, in that scale of the nusach. Was that meaningful for you all at all? What feeling did you derive from that? Did it convey the text? Did it word paint?
My Orthodox cousin's synagogue.
Okay.
On
Yeah.
Saturdays, unless my mind is, you know, I'm old. Unless my mind
I
is
represent that
itself,
remark.
on Saturdays, after, you know, before we do the blessing of the wine and the hamotzi, we sing the shalmur, but it's in a different tune as well.
Right. So there are countless melodies. I only shared a couple, plus the chanting, the Torah and the nusach. And the beautiful thing about music is they're endless interpretations. Just as we have these rabbinical interpretations of every text that we have, you know, so many opinions. The same with music. You have these people who came in and composed music and continue to compose music, and they're word painting. They're creating their own midrashim, their own commentaries on these texts. So I threw a lot at you tonight. And I love learning what your preferences are. And that wasn't really the purpose of this, but I want to keep throwing these kinds of conversations out at us. I love exploring text and I love exploring music and how they affect each other. And I think that music takes us to a different place. It transcends this world and connects us to the divine, I think. And that music really affects the text. And I will say sometimes you read a text that's really serious and you hear a happy melody and like, something's a little bit confusing here. If you were here at my installation, I mentioned before we sang Basha Nahava'a that Ehud Manor wrote this text about how this year is going to be a better year, but the backstory is that his brother had just died in battle. And it was really sad for him, but he gave the text to Narit Hirsch and said, hey, can you write me a melody? But he didn't fill her in on that backstory. He didn't tell her that he was mourning the loss of his brother. And so she wrote this, God bless her, this beautiful melody that's happy and joy-filled, and it's about new beginnings and celebrating New Year's and saying this new year is going to be even better than the last. And there's this confusion, there's this tension between the happy and the sad, and they don't always match. But sometimes we gain things like this feeling of joy, festiveness, that Rabbi Rafu maybe gave us in this melody, and I hope we'll always hold on to that. I hope that as we move forward in our exploration together, God willing, many years to come, that we are blessed with ears to truly hear music of our tradition, eyes and brain to examine the text and turn it on all sides, a heart to feel God's love and our love for God, and may we be moved to pass this beautiful music tradition down, l'dor v'dor, from generation to generation. Shabbat Shalom. Oh, let's turn back to our Sidurim. Thank you all for coming closer. Just so way more Hamish than speaking from the podium over here. Let me just put this back here. All right. Well, let's turn now to page 90 in our Siddur. Let me grab the microphone. And we turn to 90 for Kiddush. I invite you to rise if you're able and join me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'yahavav ratzon hinchilanu, zikano lemaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, v'otanu kidasha, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, v'ahava uvratzon, hinchatanu, baruch atah Adonai, megadish Shabbat l'chaim. Well, with that, and as we're standing already, let's turn to page 118 for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon ha'kol, l'tekla li'otzer b'reishit, shelo sanu k'goy ha'ratzot, ve'lo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo samchel k'mekahem, ve'kol Aleinu k'chol ha'monam, banav yisrorim, u'mishnayim onidim, lifnei melech, malchei hamnafim, hakadosh baruch hu, shehu notei shamayim ve'yosed haaretz, u'moshe yitzhak b'shamayim imar, v'shkiriyat hazor, v'shkiriyat hazor, v'gam b'Elohim, hu Eloheinu echad, Erev Malkeinu efes ulatam, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום, וידעת היום, ישבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים, בשמיים עמד, בארץ נפתחת עינו, ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, היום ההוא יראה אדוני אחד, ושלו ושמו echad. You may be seated. This week, Congregation Beth Shalom observes the following yard sites: Trudy Sobel, Aunt of Felice Silverberg, Dr. Samuel Posnock, father of Jean Posnock, Samuel William Flack, cousin of Sharon Mandel, Renee Romano, mother of Janet Aronson, Dorothy G. Waitsman, mother of Durwald Bolding, Costin Gardner, father of Tony Epstein, Morris Beckerman, father of Joe Beckerman, and Jeanette Bushner, mother of Larry Bushner. I'd like to go around and see if there are any other names that should be on this list for this week. Anyone else observing a yard site or remembering a loved one? Yes, Bob? Any others? Thank you so much for joining us, remembering your life with all of us. Any others? I invite those in mourning or remembering loved ones, or if it's your custom, to rise if you're able at this point as we turn to Mourner's Kaddish on page 124. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shebei rabba be'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute b'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'gala ubizman karib maru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'alam u'lamei maya yitbarach v'yishabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitale v'yithalal shmei dekudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom miromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. May their memories all be for a blessing, and let us say amen. How special that we can all hold each other and rally around each other during these most difficult moments, yard site, loss. We're so lucky we have this community. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to turn to Mark for some announcements. Thank you so much.
Shabbat shalom. Okay. All right, this Sunday morning, there is adult education class at 3:30 here on campus. Also, the Jewish War Veterans Officer Installation at Bethel Congregation over in Fort Worth at 10 a.m. on Sunday. Monday is Torah study. Sylvia Gray's event, CBS Broadway, is next Saturday at 7:15 p.m. here on campus. And then the Tub Shabbat Seder and Mezuzah dedication also next week, next Sunday at 11 a.m. If you're going to be here for the Seder, please call the office this week, early this week, to make reservations or RSVP. And then Sunday, February 5th, there's a double feature of the Brotherhood Sunday Speaker Series. We're actually going to have the producer of the two videos here as well. One is they're both regarding the Holocaust. One is by a Holocaust survivor. It's about a 50-minute film. The documentary was done by the gentleman who's going to be here to discuss it afterwards. And then a short video on the life of Robert Clary. Is there anyone who remembers who Robert Clary was? Okay. If you remember Hogan's Heroes, he was in Days of Our Lives, I think. And most of us, most of us, he was in Days of Our Lives. But most of us, know him as Leclerc, one of the prisoners in Stalag 13 on Hogan's Heroes. So,
Yes,
the Frenchman, yep. And then February 5th, also from 1 to 3, will be Sisterhood's area-wide event. And for those of you that will be attending, there will be a carpool from here at the synagogue. Are there any other announcements?
Isn't there something going on tomorrow?
Tomorrow. There is. Yes. It's just a little celebration. No, for those of you that can be here tomorrow for Shabbat, there will be a reception, luncheon afterwards, honoring Patrick Knight, our usual officer on duty.
I believe it's Stuart's birthday.
It is Stuart's birthday. That is correct. That is correct. You absolutely have to. Yes. There are a bunch. And I think that's it. Shabbat shalom all.
Oh, yes.
One of the best honors we have here.
Thank you so much, Bob.
Came toward the dates are?
Yes, so actually great. Thank you so much for mentioning these. I was going to bring them up. And thank you, Mark, for so beautifully giving us our announcements. I'll be offering 2 Gabbai workshops on February 4th and 11th. My preference is for whoever joins to be at both sessions, and the only requirement is some basic Hebrew skills. I know it's not the easiest thing. If you are interested, please let me know. This is a really meaningful way to elevate services each week on Saturday mornings. And if you decide to go through the training, there's no obligation to do this every week, even every once in a while, or even to shadow one of our already seasoned lay leaders here. So if you're interested, please, you can sign up on the Sign Up Genius, or if you're not sure if you're interested, you're kind of on the fence, you can reach out to me. And the same goes for what I'm going to mention in a minute. I'm going to be offering a 4-part service leading workshop following the Gabbai workshops for Saturday morning services. If you're interested in learning parts or all of Saturday morning services, I'll be teaching a 4-part workshop, and you'll get materials, recordings, all of the above to help with your learning, and you can meet with me as well on the side. And then when you're ready, I can have you come on up and lead 1 prayer or 2 prayers, and slowly but surely build up. As a small community, it's so important that we keep our cadre of leaders going and constantly keep building. So more on that to come. You'll see an email about that this upcoming week and another Sign Up Genius. And if, again, you're on the fence, reach out to me. Wonderful. Well, with that, let's go ahead and conclude on page 16 with Shalom Aleichem. Please join me. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Yon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Boachem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Yon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu Ni Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Yon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Tzidchem Leshalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Yon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, hey, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat, 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 Shabbat Shalom. I also heard, so 2 things. First is, if there's someone here you don't know, on your way out, please introduce yourself. And also, I think I heard that it was a birthday this week. I hope I'm not missing any others. I think I heard Deborah's birthday was this week. So let's just end by singing Yom Huledet. Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. Ad mea ke'esrim, may you live to be, I don't like to say live to be 120. I say live to be 100 and always feel like you're 20. So, Mazel tov. All right. Let's do Lindsay. Actually, I'm going to do good with Lindsay. Yes, let's do a quick Lindsay. All right. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise and soul together. As our joyful prayer is said, Baruch Adonai Eloheinu Haolam, Haoseh Yevaret.
mentioned the dinner.
I was, my husband, so Taylor, I was like,
I started doing the same